as we told you during our opening statements, Nigeria's Ministry of Education is scrambling right now to explain what many stakeholders in the education sector have called avoidable confusion regarding examination subjects available for selection for Nigerian final year secondary school students. In a detailed statement on Saturday, the ministry explained that this clarification comes after calls, letters, concerns from misinterpretations circulating across a number of platforms. Well, for how this situation could potentially affect these students if nothing gets done to resolve it quickly, as well as options that can be explored by parents and guardians, we are now being joined by Yusuf Abubakar, the principal of Supreme Education Foundation, and it's good to have you on the morning show, Mr. Abubakar.
Good morning. Good to have you on the morning show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. So, I think we can start by just offering a little bit of clarity to this situation. Subjects were said to have been removed as options for students in secondary school, and now the federal government put out this statement yesterday saying, no, they actually can take these subjects. So just explain to us where things stand right now.
Okay. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you for having me. I think I have to take it a step backwards to explain.
Okay.
Before September, everything was normal.
Okay.
And the principle around subject selection for WAEC students was simple and straightforward.
Okay.
For every student, at least 4 subjects are compulsory.
4?
4. Mathematics,
okay.
English language, civic education, and a trade subject.
Okay.
Those were the 4.
Compulsory ones.
Compulsory ones. Yeah. But we got a communication from WAEC.
Formally?
Yes, formally. That the compulsory subjects are now 2, mathematics and English language.
Okay.
That trade subject is no longer compulsory. It's now optional. And as civic education is delisted, no longer part of WAEC subject till 2028.
Okay.
So that's where we
That was
were.
the communication you got in September?
No. I mean last week from WAEC.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So I said everything was normal before September.
Before September.
Because the Federal Ministry of Education came up with the reforms.
Okay.
And surprisingly, the reforms was to take effect immediately.
Okay.
That for me is worrisome. It's worrisome because if you public policy have sound principles, basic principles, as a 100-level student of public administration, clearly one of the subjects you do is public policy. And the basic features of public policy, one is timelines. The implementation must be phased.
All right.
Even the planning must be participatory, stakeholder-based, consultation. All of this never took place. And so the fact that they have to start explaining every now and then shows that engagement, robust engagement with the key stakeholder never took place in the first place.
All right, so the formal letter you got or formal communication you got came from WAEC, not from federal government?
Yes.
You didn't hear anything from federal government as per the revised policy on education?
Okay, so clearly there's a huge gap in communication between Federal Ministry of Education and other key stakeholders. I'm talking about school owners,
school proprietors,
parents, students.
Okay.
And even though WAEC is the main person, WAEC as a body conducts, they receive directives from Federal Ministry of Education. So all they've been telling us since September is that they got this from Federal Ministry of Education.
Okay.
So when the issue of reform came about in September, a few days before resumption.
All right.
Why they deleted some subjects, introduced new subjects at the time. And they said immediately, so most school owners contacted WAEC to ask questions. Is this being implemented immediately? What is the correlation between this, the policy and the
forthcoming examination?
SS3 students that will be writing. So they said they've not heard anything from WAEC officially.
From federal government?
Yes, from federal government officially at the time in September. And so we continued with the status quo at the time.
Okay.
And for WAEC, there's e-registration that comes up every November, December.
All right.
And so you have to register your subject
Okay.
as a science, art, and commercial student.
Okay.
So that was clearly it. And so why the WIAC communication disrupted or confused the major stakeholders, apart from the compulsory subject, even the trade subjects, they delisted some and added some. So for example, the popular ones like photography, data processing,
yes,
were no longer part of WIAC, are no longer part of WIAC subjects as we speak. Unfortunately, photography and data processing are among the popular ones. So in my school, for example, 80% of our students offer photography as a subject.
Okay.
Now, if you are able to complete your 8 or 9 subjects, because you can only register minimum of 8,
a maximum of 9.
9.
Okay.
So the implication of this policy is that some students now have just 6 subjects, or maximum 7, looking for 2 other subjects to add, because without the 8 or 9 subjects, you will not be registered in the first place. And so students and parents and school leaders are now looking for subjects they never studied, they never prepared for, to register for WIAC. 4 months or less than 5 months.
When is WIAC?
So WIAC. WIAC is end of March, beginning of April.
Wow.
And so when you look at this situation, you mentioned a gap in communication. Whose fault is this? Who does the buck stop with for an issue like this when students and parents are scrambling? Who's to be held responsible?
That's a good question. Like I mentioned, a sound public policy.
Yeah.
First thing for stakeholder engagement. And I hate to give global examples, but we have...
necessary
Sure.
for comparison.
It's necessary for... Look at Cambridge with IGCSE exams. They do reforms as well.
Okay.
Look at College Board with SAT. They do reforms as well. In fact, 2 years ago, they moved from paper-based to digital assessment.
Yeah.
There was robust engagement with key stakeholders, the teachers, school leaders. They had a manual for teachers to train them, to get them ready. And then the transition was phased for the SAT and by College Board. Let's not even go far. Even the Federal Minister of Education in the past, when history was introduced into the GSS classes, it was introduced to students that were in GSS 1 at the time, I think 2018.
Okay.
And
that was when history returned after a long while.
Exactly. And so it was introduced to the GSS 1 student at the time.
Right.
And so they gave them a 3-year gap. So they were assessed 3 years later while in GSS 3 for their Becker exams. Okay. So this was actually done by the same Ministry of Education. Now that's not all. There's a subject called literature. And they change their texts every now and then. I think every 5 years. So currently they changed 2 years ago. The current SS3 won't be using those texts. Okay. Why? Because those who started using it are currently in SS2. So they will be assessed on it when they get to SS3. So that's a phase implementation. Yeah. And I begin to ask, why not announce and give phased implementation where we start in 2017, we start in 2018? What they have told us with civic education, for example, is that they will be assessed in 2018. Then my question is...
In 2018 or 2028?
2028, rather. Thank you. 2028. If that's the case, why not do same for other subjects? Yeah. What they've told us last night now is that they are not... ICT is still part of the subject, even though it is now called digital technology. And that the only thing that changed is nomenclature, the name. Yes. If the name is the only issue, why not wait and assess this current SS3 with the name ICT? Who are taught with ICT. Who are taught with ICT. But the engagement wasn't there at all. And by engagement, I don't mean selecting people to just go to Abuja for one
The stakeholder meeting.
One stakeholder meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and there was never feedback. I mean, schools belong to Association of Private Secondary Schools in Nigeria. My school, for example, we're a member of ISEN, we're a member of APEN.
What's ASEN? What's APEN?
You said?
Which are those? What
Association of International Secondary Schools of Nigeria. And so they were never carried along in all of this. And so as we speak, we're confused. We don't even know the next steps to make. The briefing yesterday from Federal Ministry of Education did help to clarify
the
ICT.
press statement.
The press statement did help to clarify ICT, that's the digital technology. And so I'm informed by WAEC officials, because I put a call through yesterday, that students will be ICT will be added to the platform, e-registration platform, by Monday latest. So that's fine. But what about civic education that students have been preparing for in the last 2 years? What about photography? That is part of the trade subject students have been preparing for in the last 2 years, data processing. That press statement was silent on all of these
those are the
issues.
optional trade subjects that students can offer.
Well, even if they are optional, you have to complete your subject 8.
Correct.
For your registration to go through.
Well, I mean, I like the fact that you said that the press statement put out yesterday by, I think it was the director of press and publicity that did that. How convincing do you think it was, given that, one, you didn't quite get a communication ab initio, from the ministry? It's from WAEC that you got the communication. So if the ministry is now saying, all these rumors, all these concerns, all these agitations, don't worry, this is the situation of things. Do you think just a mere press release will solve all the problems, or shouldn't there be a proper engagement and a formal communication directed at schools and then to WAEC?
Okay, so what I see from your question, we may not necessarily deal with WAEC, Ministry of Education directly. Yes. But what I'm saying clearly is a lacuna, a gap in communication between WAEC and Federal Ministry of Education. Because like I said, the communication we got last week from WAEC was clear and simple. ICT was no longer part of the subject. The question I'm asking now, is it that WAEC did not get that communication from Federal Ministry of Education? If WAEC did not understand the communication, now talk about the school owners and students and parents. So clearly WAEC and Federal Ministry of Education need to connect and collaborate more. So I'm sure they got this same press release the same way you and I got the press release yesterday.
And how normal is that? I mean, a Federal Ministry of Education should be at the helm of all decisions being made around education in the country. How normal is it that this gap in communication even happened in the first place? That's what I'm really trying to get to the root of. Who wasn't talking to who?
That's just, for me, that's just on the one hand. What about the gap between the Ministry of Education and the key stakeholders? I am not sure they completely understood the policy they were issuing in the first place. And you need to be on the field to actually understand the impact of it. I'm not sure they got or they understood the intended impact. That after that announcement, some students will only be having 6 subjects and they will have to register 8. And at the end of the day, students will need or may need to add a subject they've not prepared for to complete their 8 or 9 mandatory subjects. So I'm sure they were getting this feedback from parents, from school owners. So that press release or that press statement for me was reactive. And it is worrisome if government is reacting to issues like this.
You're very correct, because A1, I'm sure that you saw their video.
Yes.
The Education Writers Association of Nigeria also had a summit almost immediately after they got the communication, because all parents were worried. Students who never offered other courses were worried if they will have up to 8. So you're very correct about the manner in which these things are communicated. But tell me, when they say that ICT will no longer be called ICT, because that's also contained in yesterday's press statement, and it will be called digital technology. What does that mean? I mean, what changes? Does it mean that the curriculum will be affected ultimately, or it's just the nomenclature that will change?
Okay, so is the content in the long run now?
Yes.
It has to do with the content. So the content in the former ICT nomenclature will be part of the new one, but they are adding more content. So what they are saying now is that for this 2026 WACS exam,
yes,
they are going to assess based on the old content that the student prepared for.
But the subject will be called digital technology.
Digital technology.
Without additional content. Without additional text.
For 2026. Then if that's the case, and you want me to believe that, why the announcement now?
Exactly.
And in terms of, when, like Steve was mentioning, just this change of name, I think we can kind of broaden the conversation to the subjects that are being taught to Nigerian students today. I know some schools are teaching robotics, engineering at the secondary school level. Do you feel like the subjects that Nigerian students are currently learning are equipping them well enough to compete with, students around the world? Not to compare, but those are the other students that Nigerian students will have to compete with for jobs, for opportunities. What's your take on that?
Yes, I don't think they're enough. And to be fair to the Federal Minister of Education, that's the reason behind this reform. And so for me, reform is good. In fact, it's long overdue. But it must be systematic.
Okay.
And it must follow sound public policy principle.
Okay.
You mentioned the A1 Summit.
Yes.
That's exactly the kind of forum that should have been organized a year or two ago.
Okay.
And putting all of these things on the table.
Yeah.
Having school owners speaking to the issues,
okay,
getting feedback from them, going away with the feedback, and coming back with a robust policy. Imagine if we were part of it at the beginning.
Yes.
We're not going to be confused now. Imagine if parents were part of it at the beginning. But we just woke up one morning, few days before resumption, this academic session. Resumption for this academic session.
In September?
In September. I think September 5th or thereabouts. That was when all of these reforms. So by this time last year, I don't think there's any principal in the country or school owner that got hold of the information that by next session, all of this will be taking place. I mean, at the beginning of the term, during summer, teachers prepared their scheme of work, their lesson notes, their lesson plans for the session based on the old policy. You woke up few days, I think 3 or 4 days to the beginning of the term, and then there was an addendum that it would take effect immediately.
Do you think, and are you worried that this appears to be a pattern, with the current Ministry of Education, given a few policies in the past that they have had to also clarify on, etc. I'll give you a few examples. I think that at the time there was the issue of minimum age to be for students to be accepted in universities. That was a time that the minister said it will have to be 18. And then there were arguments later, and then clarification that exceptional students at 16 or 17, like a few universities, OAU in Ife, a few universities do accept exceptionally brilliant students at 16 or at 17, and then clarification came later to say, okay, we're tweaking with it. It's not just going to be 18. And then after that, the issue of the indigenous language policy, which came, recently, jettisoning that idea totally, and then saying students will now be taught only in English language. And then there was also, at a time, that they also toyed with the idea of maths was not going to be compulsory for non-science students. There was uproar in the country. Yet another clarification came to say, oh, they will still offer mathematics, but then you don't have to pass it in WAEC. You know, all these sort of confusing policies that don't always come as a formal announcement. Look at the one on language, for example. It was at a British Council event that the minister, made that announcement, not formal communication. And then when they now want to clarify, they issue a press release. Is the education sector, particularly secondary school owners and principals like your good self, are you worried about this flip-flop that we keep getting?
Extremely worried. And like I said, the principle is simple. You start a public policy with engagement. The moment you don't do that, it becomes a top-bottom approach. And then you see, from the examples you've given now, you will see a pattern. Clear disconnect from the announcement from government and the reality on ground. Clear disconnect. And who are the people that will help you with the reality on ground? It's the same key stakeholders that we should engage more. I'm hoping that after this conversation, they are able to bring close to them the proprietors of private and public schools in Nigeria, the teachers, the education experts, curriculum experts. You are able to bring them closer. There's a clear disconnect, most times from his announcements as a politician and the technocrats in education on ground. So I'm extremely worried. And for me, the implication is this. We live in a world where the students, the learners, they really don't have anything to believe in Nigeria. And for me, I'm looking at this 16-year-old who spent 3 years to prepare for a subject, and you woke up one morning to tell him that you cannot write this. You cannot
fight.
Yes, and so there's nothing for them to believe in. I'm worried that what is the perception of our learners about our government? For me, that breaks my heart. Where you find it difficult to convince them to believe in the Nigerian project because of things like this.
You said in history return in 2018, did you say?
Yes, for junior school.
For junior school?
Yes.
So where is the position of history now, particularly as it concerns WAEC? Is it part of the subject that are on offer?
No. It has nothing to do. It is currently optional for any student that want to offer.
But it is being taught?
It's being taught, yes.
Okay. Okay.
It's being taught.
Okay.
Okay, and I'd like to, ask you a little bit more about the impact this has on students, because even all of this back and forth between the ministry and WAEC, students are the ones that are caught in the middle of this. How optimistic are you about the crop of students graduating from these institutions? Do you feel like the level of education, are they being well equipped, basically? Similar to my last question, but just how are students graduating right now? Is there a sense that they're at the level that they should be? Doesn't this impact the quality of learning?
Yes, they are. And if there are issues, it has nothing to do with them. It has nothing to do with the Nigerian child. Yes. For me, we are grappling with examination malpractice now. For me, there's a correlation between an unprepared child for the exam, which we are promoting now. Because we're asking them to prepare for a subject that is supposed to prepare for 3 years. We want them to prepare for it 4-5 months.
To the exam.
When you lack confidence to do well in exams, you look for other means. So there's a correlation between the rise in malpractice and the level that will prepare our students for exams. And this will only increase or exacerbate what we are discussing now. So I'm extremely worried. What about their mental health? For me, that's key. As a principal, you need to deliver the good and the bad news. So having conversation with my students last week on this subject matter, it was really heartbreaking for some of them having to drop a subject. And so there is this connection between student and some subjects.
Yes.
Like the ICT that we are discussing now. They are comfortable with some subjects. They're not comfortable with some subjects.
Yes.
So this policy was actually making them to pick subjects that they're not comfortable with. And so a very good number of them broke down. And the counseling unit of my school is having to do a whole lot now to bring their confidence back to the right state. So it's really not a good omen, sincerely. Like I said earlier, for me, the bigger picture is what the youth are saying about our government. For me, that's a bit worrisome.
Part of the communication that schools sent out to their students, and you're very correct about, the news of last week before yesterday's clarification from the federal government, how it affected a lot of, students, a lot of kids, 16-year-olds. Many are actually, worried, including their parents, because a parent will say, okay, now that the federal government is saying this, which other two subjects will you pick? And I know, quite a number of them said, honestly, I still can't think about what is going on. You can't basically pick two subjects that you've not been offered and hope that you will sit for that exam in 4 or 5 months. Okay, the ministry has clarified, but then things are still hanging, in the air. So when they said, part of the communication that school sent out was that civic education was removed till 2028. What did that mean? What is the suspension of certain subjects till 2028? What were they trying to say?
Okay, I think they did well in this regard.
Okay.
Because they realized after the September announcement, the Federal Minister of Education now, that it will practically be impossible for the students to write the new civic education. I think they call it citizenship education / something.
Okay.
It will practically be difficult for them to be assessed this week. Why? Because we currently do not have a scheme for it. It was just an announcement. In fact, the curriculum is still being drafted as we speak. So they are
they announced that.
Yet they announced, yes. So that process will be completed by 2028. And that's what I'm talking about. And so we're able to prepare that this conversation for civic, for now, rightly or wrongly, will have time to adjust to it. Now, the problem now is why announcing that now?
Which is not ready.
Which is not ready. And you spoke well when you talk about the number of subjects they have to add. And I think school owners and school leaders must help the students in this regard.
Okay.
What we have done, for example, is to look back, because in SS1, they must have done 11, 12 subjects.
Okay.
So they would drop 1 or 2.
Okay.
In SS2 also, they would drop to maximum of 9, minimum of 8. So what it means is that for an SS3 student now, there are subjects that you must have done in SS1. Some up till SS2. So picking them up now is easier. Because you have a smaller gap to bridge. Maybe 5, 6 topics that you need to cover up. Some even dropped it last July.
Okay.
So it's easier to go back and pick it up.
Okay.
But what is not possible and what we should discourage is subject that students have never done in their life, have no relationship with. You are asking them now to register for it.
All right.
Yusuf, Abubakar, thank you very much for joining us on this incredibly important topic and for taking different angles. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.